They said he was guilty. They said he belonged behind bars. But there was one thing, one truth they never wanted the jury to see. And by the time the world learned it, it was already too late. This is the story of Kalief Browder. It was May 2010 in the Bronx, New York. Kalief Browder was just 16 years old, a quiet teenager heading home from a party with his friend. But then a police car pulled up. The officer said a man had accused Kalief of stealing a backpack. Inside that backpack, they claimed, were valuables, a camera, cash, maybe even a credit card. There was no warrant, no physical evidence. The man making the accusation changed the story more than once. Still, the police handcuffed Kalief and took him away. At the station, the charge was robbery, grand larceny, and assault. Bail was set at $3,000, money his family simply couldn't afford. His mother, Vanita Browder, tried everything, but the system moved faster than her reach. And so, without a trial, without a conviction, Kalief was sent to Rikers Island, one of the most dangerous jails in the country. From the moment he arrived, Rikers was a battlefield. Gang fights, stabbings, beatings, and the guards didn't always stop it. Sometimes, they were the ones doing the beating. Kalief was just a kid, smaller than most men there, but he refused to join a gang. That made him a target. Within weeks, he was assaulted by other inmates. When he tried to defend himself, he was punished. They placed him in solitary confinement. Not for days, not for weeks, but for months at a time. Imagine this. A 6-by-8-foot cell, cold concrete walls, a steel bed, and a tiny window that barely let in light. 23 hours a day, alone. No sunlight, no fresh air, no human touch. Kalief would later say it felt like the walls were closing in, that his mind was breaking. In total, he would spend more than 700 days in solitary. This is what they didn't want the jury to see. The psychological torture of a teenager who had not even been convicted of a crime. Meanwhile, his court case dragged on. Hearing after hearing, the prosecution asked for more time. Key witnesses disappeared. Evidence was flimsy, but the machine kept turning and Kalief kept waiting. They offered him plea deals, just say you're guilty, and you can go home. But Kalief refused. He told his lawyer, I didn't do it. I'm not going to say I did. That decision cost him 3 years of his life. Inside Rikers, survival became his daily mission. He read books to keep his mind alive. He studied for his GED. But the violence never stopped. In one incident caught on surveillance camera, multiple inmates attacked him while officers stood by. In another, a guard slammed him into the wall and punched him. These videos would later become public, sparking outrage. But while Kalief was there, no one on the outside saw them. Finally, in June 2013, after 3 years behind bars, the charges were dropped. The man who accused him had returned to Mexico and could not testify. Without him, the case collapsed. Kalief walked out of Rikers a free man, but freedom felt strange. He returned to a world that had moved on without him. Friends had grown up, neighborhoods had changed, but Kalief was stuck with the memories of the cell, the beatings, and the loneliness. He tried to rebuild his life. He enrolled in community college. He gave interviews, speaking out about what had happened to him. He wanted to fight for justice, to make sure no other kid went through what he had. But the trauma clung to him. He had trouble sleeping. He feared the police. Some days, he wouldn't leave the house. He told friends and family that he felt like he was still locked up, even though he was free. On June 6, 2015, at just 22 years old, Kalief Browder took his own life. He hung himself at his mother's home in the Bronx. The news devastated his family and shocked the country. How could this happen in America? How could a teenager lose 3 years of his life without a trial? And how could a system meant to protect the innocent destroy them instead? Kalief's story ignited a fire. Activists, lawyers, and even politicians pointed to his case as proof of the deep flaws in the justice system. Flaws that punish the poor, detain people without trial, and rely on solitary confinement despite its known psychological harm. Documentaries, news specials, and protests carried his name. President Barack Obama even cited solitary confinement's cruelty when discussing prison reform. But for the Browder family, no amount of attention could bring Kalief back. Today, His case stands as a reminder and a warning that behind the headlines and statistics are real people, that justice delayed can be justice denied, and that sometimes the truth is something they never want the jury to see. This is the story of Kalief Browder, and it's a story we cannot afford to forget.